If you look here, these are the top 24 books of my 2024 reading. I also do have some honourable mentions, which are here, which you'll have to wait to the end to see. These are the favourite 24 books. So I'm going to go through them with you now. I'm going to tell you my current thoughts, but also I was thinking, I have literally made a reading vlog for literally all of these books, pretty much. So how can I explain things better than my own past self? This is what's calling up, okay? I saw this edit. I still see your shadow. I'm going to troll through hours upon hours of footage for each of these books and insert some of my old past thoughts and experiences with the book. I'm going to go through these books. Past me is also going to go through some of them. I'm going to have a grand old time. I want to know, what are some of your favorite books? If you want to, you can give me your top 24, but I understand that's quite a lot of books. Like sometimes I was struggling a little bit here, like, which one can be the 21st, 22nd, 23rd, whatever. I'm also not going in any particular order. I'm just going to talk about them. Girl interrupted. What can I say except literally a million stars? Literally a million stars. I love this book on such a deep level. I love this book literally so much. I think my favorite book I've read so far this year. I want to immediately reread it. The thing about this book, it's either like a complete memoir or at least heavily based on her time and experiences there and like all the people that she met at this psychiatric hospital. I have read the movie of this. I prefer the book over the movie. Case reports and stuff from her stay, stuff like that in the book. The writing in this book is so good. There are so many lines that are just so lovely and beautifully written, and I like how raw this book is and real it is. The chapters are really quite short. It doesn't really follow like a linear structure. What else can I say except the fact that I just literally love this so much. I really love this book. My thoughts are still the exact same. I just connected so deeply with this book and I just love it so much. Crime and Punishment. I have been in the middle of this book since June or July last year. It's about this ex-law student, Raskolnikov, who lives in poverty, and he believes that extraordinary people have the right to murder. You know how they talk about banned books in libraries? This is one of them. Because of the psychological disturbance and themes of murder and political and religious stuff, he really wants to kill someone. Evokes a world where the lines between innocence and corruption, good and evil, blur. This book was just unhinged. Like the characters so unhinged. The things that were said were unhinged. The things that were done were unhinged. The first murder scene is very graphic. If you look up what books does Timothy Chalamet recommend, the one book that kept popping up time and time again was Crime and Punishment.
Exposed to a lot of great Dostoevsky growing up.
Crime and Punishment was to be ever made into another movie. I 100% think that Timothy Chalamet should play Raskolnikov, and I think he'd do a very good job at it. Why I think of this is because I did see I saw an edit. I mean, in my opinion, this book is not a bingeable book. My lights turned off! In his mind, he rationalizes killing this woman and then the woman's sister. Now, in his mind, his first murder was completely justified because this woman was like a scammer and nobody liked her. He was just like, I'm doing society a service. Do not let the dark romance girlies need this because they'll start being like, oh, Raskolnikov, the love of my life. He's just kind of like going through his life afterwards. Girl, she's really sweet. Anyways, she does not believe in murder. There were so many parts of this book that I just had to pause for a second and really think about what exactly I was reading. This version makes it very easy to read. Chapter 1. At the beginning of July, during a spell of exceptionally hot weather, towards evening, a young man came down onto the street from the little room he rented from some tenants in S Lane. He had succeeded in avoiding an encounter with his landlady on the stairs. His room was situated right under the roof of a tall 5-story tenement. This book is so interesting. I would say there's so many dramatic elements. It really does just make you wonder. I will admit, sometimes when I'm walking now, I will see someone walking by themselves and I'll be like, I wonder what they're thinking about. I wonder if they're thinking what Raskolnikov is thinking. I like this book so much that this is one of those books that I would just be not reading 1-star reviews of. I am just so glad that I read this book. It also made me a little bit sad to finish reading this book. I know it sounds ridiculous, but sometimes I get attached to books and then I try to stretch out the process of reading it because I don't want it to end. I don't actually know what song correlates with this book. I know. I 100% know what song matches this book. This is Raskolnikov, okay? So yeah, I really loved it. I cannot stop thinking about everything to do with this book. I can't stop thinking about it. I can't stop recommending it to people. I can't get out of my mind. I need to reread it like immediately. Stop. It is a tragedy. I cannot believe I forgot Manacled. How did I forget Manacled? You know why? It's because I don't have a physical copy of it. But trust, once I know how to bookbind, that is the first thing that I am binding. into 3 separate volumes. Let me tell you why Manacled is my favorite. There is just something that I'm getting teary-eyed thinking about this, alright? The one thing that I would want to be reading is Manacled by Sen Lin Yu. That is what I want to be reading. I want to be feeling all kinds of emotions to distract me from the zombies outside. I saw this edit. I still see your shadow. I saw this edit. I'm gonna put it here. If you read it, you'll know what I'm talking about when I say this. It's just... that is something that I have read so many times. Now, what is Manacled, I hear you ask? Okay, imagine Harry Potter. Voldemort wins. Merged with The Handmaid's Tale. We have Draco, we have Hermione. There's flashbacks, there's a happily ever after, but really it's not all that happy. And let me tell you why it's been my favorite for a lot of years now. A lot of years Manacled has been in my favorite books. Okay, so this is past me. To this. For a book, I think I'm gonna reread the end. Okay, so there's this story. It's called Manacled, and it is actually so heart-wrenching. It is so like, it literally will rip your heart out, and it is very heavy to read, you know, but I love it, and I reread it basically because it's the only story that I really like. It just makes me so happy but so sad. It's written very well, it's very well thought out. It is just so well done. It's like a real, like, it's not like a typical fan fiction, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's actually good. It's like actually good. But like, just beware, only read it if you're like mature. I would probably say 18 and up. Like, I read it when I was like 14, but I'm just letting you be aware. Since I was 14, 15 to 16 to 17 to 18, now to 19, and you know what? It's just gonna continue on because Manacled is the most heartbreaking, dark story. The entire world is so dark. Everything is so morbid. For those who don't know, Manacled is a Hermione fan fiction. It is. Stop. This is a safe space, okay? This is a safe space. Basically, it takes place as if Voldemort won the war, and basically Hermione's in the Order, and they have such
an aversion
to using the dark arts, and she's like, guys, people are dying, we need to start like stepping up the game. And they're like, you're just a healer, even though they made her be a healer because they didn't have anyone else. Then okay, whatever, back to the point. It's just Manacled. When I say it is, guys, I'm gonna cry. I'm gonna cry. So I have probably read Manacled. How many times this year have I read it? A lot. I've read this book a lot of times this year, because basically what happens is once I finish reading it, then I just immediately start reading it again. Like, immediately start reading it. So I'll read the last chapter and then I'll go back and I'll read in the next 10 chapters. Or I will, you know, if I'm really feeling painful, I'll go with the flashbacks first. It just depends. But I've read Manacled so many times, and it will just forever be a favorite for me. The atmosphere, the loneliness, and yes, the isolation, how everything is so desolate, how everything is so dark and sad. If you look at it, you just imagine grey, sadness, darkness. I need alchemized, okay? I need alchemized because Manacled is, trust me when I say I love it, like literally, like when I was passed out on the ground and the paramedics was like, you have to keep her talking. What did I talk about? Yes, I talked about Manacled, okay? That's how you know. There is just something about it. I think it is tethered to me. I don't think anything will ever come close to it. It's such a heartbreaking story. The ending, it's so sad. It's not fair. And I think the fact that like this book just has such like an emotional reaction out of me, I love it. The fact that I will never be able to read it for the first time is actually making me so upset. I feel as though sometimes with movies and books you can go an extended period of time without reading or watching it, and then it's kind of like you're rereading it again. For me, it's just, that's impossible to happen because I just read it so many times that it's branded into my mind, so it's just impossible for me to be able to forget it. But don't read it, okay? Don't read it, because you know what? A lot of people don't like it. So here's me telling you to not read it, because Manacled is one of those books where like if someone has a negative opinion on it, I just, like, don't read it. Don't read it, because don't read it unless you think you're gonna like it. Don't read it if you think you're not gonna like it. Okay? Just don't, because There are other books to read instead. Okay, so you know what I'm gonna do after I finish filming this? Actually, I'm gonna continue reading Manacled. That's what I'm gonna do because I need to. Because it is my life source. That's what it is. It's my life source. White is bewitching. I'm going into this book with the expectation of beautiful writing. I'm also going into this book with the expectation that it's like a haunted house. It's kind of like broken up a little bit. And the book is like quite short. Very interesting so far. A lot is happening. There are definitely like a lot of weird scenes in this book. Multiple different narrators, different points of view. The girl, the house, or the girl's twin brother. The guy's girlfriend wants to cut her hair off because his twin has short hair, because there was an incident with her hair and bindings, and there's an entire incident with that. So then she had to have her hair really short. So then his girlfriend cut it because then the guy said that everyone thinks that twins are incestuous. Is that what people think? I have never once looked at twins and thought, yep, they secretly are in a relationship. Some weird things like she washes down her pills with vinegar. Then there are these girls that try to kill her. I really like the writing style. It's very bizarre. Like, for example, a bizarre scene is an apple rolls across the floor and then a mannequin picks it up. Something that's in store windows like comes to life and picks it up. Yeah, now we're like sort of university setting. She's an interesting character to follow. I can't stop reading it. I looked out at the garden through the kitchen window. The sun was setting into storm clouds. There was smoky brightness outside, as if the world was being inspected by candlelight. I feel like I need to reread this book like 10 times to be able to give you a more coherent review. This book is very peculiar, and as much as the days pass, I just keep loving it more and more and more. It is so peculiar. There are so many fairy tale elements. I was confused about what I felt when I first read it, but I can't stop thinking about it, so I love it so much. And also, I don't know if I mentioned this, but like, yes, it explores so many heavy topics. For example, like racism. It explores so many of them. Normal people. The things I would do to be able to have my mind scrubbed clean so I could read this book for the very first time again. Marion and Connell, did they just live rent-free in my mind? This book is such a masterpiece. I love it so much, and I don't know what I would. This book, I love it. I love it so very much. It's just this book is one of those books that I stand by. Either like it or you don't like it. I personally liked it. I did not mind the lack of quotation marks. And I actually saw someone once say, oh, you know, I read an entire like chapter and then I realized that it wasn't all in a monologue and that was actually a conversation being said. Trust me, you won't have any problems with that because it literally says on the like fifth line, oh hey, he says. If it was in a monologue, who would be saying that? Who would be having a conversation? I like the look of friendships and relationships. Did I say connections? I really like the connections that were explored in this book and just the life stories, and this book just felt so real and raw, and I did watch the TV show first. I just think that if you are confused, to watch the show and then read this. If you are like really confused and don't know what's going on, because it does switch between past and the present, it doesn't really follow like a linear thing. I personally like this book, but I understand that it is not for everyone. This book is about Marianne and Connell and their navigations through high school and college and each other and friendships and relationships and growing as a person. I went on vacation and one of my most notable reads was Normal People. I read it quite a lot. I read it on the beach. It's very nice. It has lots of sand in it. I also read it on New Year's. Yeah, so as you can see, this is me just reading. I personally really like Normal People. This is me reading the end. I thought it would be fun if I got my reaction down on camera. And yeah, so oh my, why am I crying? I love Normal People. I am one of the people who love Normal People. I can't stop thinking about Normal People. It consumes me. I have an edit. I love the TV show as well, but I have an edit of the TV show, and every single time I watch it like weekly at this point, and I'm just like, I show it to people. I'm like, have you seen Normal People? My friend from last semester, we were just watching it. Just like, my love language is showing you my favorite edits from TikTok. Okay, the bell jar. I, in fact, do not have a reading vlog for this book. I was in the process of making it, but when I started reading it, I just started reading it and I couldn't stop reading it, so I didn't want to like pause and film my reactions and stuff. But when I reread this book next year, because I'm putting it back on my physical TBR because I want to read it again, but when I do read this book again next year, don't worry, we'll get a reading vlog there. This book definitely is. It's an unreliable narrator. There are so many situations, like for example at the start I was like, she was talking to some character and I'm like, is this character even real? Yes they are, but that's what I'm kind of talking about. There's also a ton of inner monologue in this book. For just a bit of content warning, mental health is discussed in this book. There is also like quite a lot of racist remarks, which I do not condone at all. This book was, you know, written. Also, minks are used for fashion in this. There are also so many beautiful quotes in this book, and there's so many like memorable quotes that you would definitely have heard about. Like if you have anyone talking about the fig tree, you know how the fig tree, it's like stretching out before you, and there's so many different figs and there's so many different like pathways you can take in your life. You've definitely heard about this book in some way or another. The writing is so beautiful, and I definitely want to reread it. I love this book so much. It is 5 stars. But again, I do not condone the problematic remarks. But this book, I love this book so much. Babel. Babel is 100% a 5-star read. It is so complex and intricate. There is so much research that went into this book. You can just tell. It's so heartbreaking and deep, and it explores so many complex topics such as colonialism and racism. Just the things that the characters experience and go through and how the entire story unfolds. Everything is just, this book is so incredible. The writing, the magic system, the way that everything is like works up in this society is just, this book is so good. It's amazing. You know, it's amazing. Bunny. This book is 5 stars. It is, I don't have any notes for this. I'm just going off my own remembrance. But this book is so good. It's so weird and peculiar. It's such a good satire. There's so many fairy tale-esque aspects, horror type aspects. This book, it's hard to explain what it is. But it's like, okay, these girls, they all call each other Bunny. And they're in this writing program at this university called Warren University. Bunny. And this girl, she kind of gets adopted into their group. Samantha. And the things that happen in this book, the quotes, the lines, it's so good. It's so good. Do you remember Bunny? A Secret History is literally up there. I loved A Secret History. The Secret History. Let's talk about The Secret History. I, in fact, did rate this book 5 stars, and I kind of don't want to tell you too much about it, but just know it's about this group of elitist New England college students and then all their escapades.
Okay, so I've made like a little Pinterest board as I'm going to tell you about the characters to make it more interesting. Okay, we're going to start off with Henry. Now, the reason why I'm starting off with Henry is because I genuinely feel like a story written from his perspective would have been so interesting, because I feel like he's such an interesting character. Now, Henry is very, very intelligent. He's also kind of like the group leader. He's the one that orchestrated a lot. But he's very smart, you know, like when people need help with assignments and stuff, like he helps them. He also is like rich, so he has money. The reason why he's also so intelligent and smart and he's so well versed with the Greek language is because when he was younger he was very sick and he was stuck in bed a lot, so he did like a lot of research then. So yeah, that's kind of him. He has a very kind of calculated nature. He's a bit cold, really. Next we have Bunny. Bunny comes from like a very big family, but also his family, they're like, money's the most important thing, but don't work because working is bad. And then his family, they like kicked Bunny out onto the curb, kind of kicked all the sons out on the curb and was like, okay, now fend for yourself, but like don't work, but like still have a lot of money. So it's like, huh? Oh my god, I also realized that on my September TBR, I've got a book called Bunny. Huh, I'm gonna read that probably. Okay, so anyways, back to him. He's very charming, very manipulative. He, you know, I would say he thinks of himself as a jokester, even though a lot of his jokes just make a lot of people uncomfortable. But, you know, he thinks he's really hilarious. He's honestly, like, really offensive, and he's a leech. He leeches off his friends, like, so badly. He's kind of, like, I would say very reckless because he just does things without thinking. And he is pretty careless with a lot of his actions, and, you know, he just says things without any disregard for others. And that's kind of Bunny. Then we have Charles. Now, with Charles, he is twins with someone called Camilla. Now, Charles, he does misuse alcohol quite a lot. He's an orphan, so is Camilla as well. And the reason I've got a little piano here is because there's a part in the book where he does play the piano. See, I hate the ads. There's so many ads on Pinterest, and it takes away from the aesthetic. Honestly, like, look at that. You have all these nice images, and then bam, an ad. Ugh. And see, it can hear because as I just, look, they fixed it. Okay, whatever. Now, I would say that Charles, there's kind of like a decline, I think, in his emotional stability, and he's definitely like very paranoid about a lot of things. Now, I kind of have 2 pictures for Camilla. I've got this one here. You're gonna scroll? No? Okay, and then this one here as well. I don't know, I really like these shoes. I wish I could like wear those shoes and pull it off, but I just don't. Yeah, someone's asking the real questions where they don't even answer it. So Camilla, she is like very beautiful, but she's like so very intelligent. She's a very loyal person. She's again like Charles's twin. She kind of like, a lot of guys, they're like in love with her within the group. Yeah, she's cool, she's smart, she's an icon. Then we have Francis. He too is also comes from a wealthy family. Like his mom, like, I don't know, his mom is definitely a character. But yeah, Francis, he is like, honestly, he's very neurotic and he does panic quite a lot. And he is like very concerned about so many things, like he's always worrying about the situation at hand. And yeah. And we also have Richard. You know, I have talked about him, but yeah, he really just wants to belong. That's kind of the main thing that he wants. He kind of just wants to be a part of a group. You know, the place where he came from. Well, okay, first of all, he says he's from California, but then why does he keep talking about like that other place? Where is it? Is it Plano? And he says that like I don't know, he was always talking about Plano. He's 100% from there, like, And, you know, Richard, I just reckon he lies a lot, but, you know, he's really struggling with, you know, his identity, I think, and so he just wants to be a part of this group, he wants to be part of something. And, yeah. And then we have Julian. As you can see, this is Julian. I'm kidding. That's actually a tree. That is not Julian. But I really like this image. Like, what? I really like this image quite a lot. And honestly, it is what I imagined, because this book, I imagine it so well. And honestly, I do see that. I really do. Okay, but yeah, did I just say it? We're talking about Richard? No, we're talking about Julian, who is the professor. And, you know, Julian, when I'm reading him talk, he seems very much in his own world. He seems to very much, you know, care about himself. Everyone's like, oh, he's so charming. A lot of people, like, love him, but I don't know. And yeah, that's kind of the character analysis. Now, I just want to finish this book. I really do, because I think it's like, well, it's really good actually, but I would just like to get this video finished and done for you guys, really.
In this book, there are things like dark rituals, obsession, murder, betrayal, secrets, elitism, deception, dark academia. In fact, a lot of people think this is like a pinnacle for dark academia. Guilt, mystery, paranoia. I did thoroughly love this book.
Daisy Hates the Great Undoing.
I read this book in conjunction with Magnolia Parks and The Long Way Home. But this book here, I will forever love Daisy and Julian's story. Oh, and you know, Christian's there. I have like a love-hate relationship with Christian, honestly. But Daisy, I love Daisy, and Julian, of course I love Julian. Everyone loves Julian. But this book series, Magnolia Parks, just, okay. This one especially, just crime lord shenanigans mixed in with London socialites. So much drama, so many beautiful quotes, betrayal, love, messy love, toxicness. This book in particular, I love this book. I love this book, and I cannot wait for the next Daisy Hates books to be out. And I love the covers, because all of these things are something in the book. See, that's little Julian, LJ. I just realized something, guys. Oh my god, I just remembered something. Do you remember that guy? Okay, I think I said this in my last video. I said this somewhere. But there's a guy who was like to me, how's the weather? Whatever. When he put his contact information in my phone, he put it as LJ. Stop. Get out of my head. I'm only moving forward. I only move forward. I don't look behind. I love this book. I love it so much. So yeah, Divine Rivals. 3 in the morning. I really like this book. I like the magic systems. The ending was heartbreaking. I do wish there was a little bit more about the gods, because I found them very interesting. Let's talk about it. This book is a fantasy book. It's YA, historical fantasy. The lady who did the audiobook has such a nice voice, and I think it was because of her that I pictured her as Hermione. I also picture him as Victor from The Corpse Bride. Basically, we have Iris and we have Roman. They are journalists working in this journaling agency. They are not enemies. It says it has an addictive spice called enemy lovers. So then everyone who picks up this book and looks in the back sees, oh look, enemy lovers. No, academic rivals, I suppose. Literally on the second page, she's like, oh, do you want to like go out with me for sandwiches? If you're enemies or like true rivals, that wouldn't happen. But imagine you're running a race. Okay, the person next to you, it's like, yeah, I'm not gonna kill you, I don't hate you, but like, I want to win. That's kind of like the vibe here. At the same time, there's a war going on, a war of the gods, because there's Dacre and Ember.
Also, I don't know how big these gods are. Like, in my mind, I keep imagining, like, big, gigantic, you know, but then they're never really described, really. So, like, are they, like, people? Do they look like people? Like, how big are they?
They were basically reworking, and now they're fighting. The gods are fighting. So Iris has this, like, typewriter thing, but it's a magic typewriter, because when she types on it, someone starts writing letters back. Like I said, I'm easily entertained. I love that this book is written in third person. Would love to just hear more about the gods. I also love the world. Some topics that are in this book are addiction, loss, death, hopelessness, despair. Run in the opposite direction. Oh no. The acknowledgements. No. No. I should have expected this. I mean, there's a second one for a reason. The God of the Woods. I cannot stop thinking about this book. I don't know why I want to read it. It's classified as thriller, but everyone who has reviewed it that I have seen has said it's more literary fiction and like mystery. A camp. Some say it was tragic what happened to the Van Laars. Some said the Van Laars deserved everything they got. Something happened to the boy. The teenage daughter has gone missing in the same wilderness as her brother. Some say the two disappearances aren't connected. Some say they are. First of all, I'm a little bit through this. There's like different perspectives and stuff. I'm like really liking it so far. It's past and present timeline. Predatory men, they're everywhere. Do people not lock their doors? I'm noticing like a lot of more telling. Please, you learn in primary school. Show, don't tell. What would you prefer? Someone being like, Jerry escaped from jail, or seeing it happen. You want to see Jerry escape from jail. You don't want to just get like a sentence. Also, I like that looks like a crow. Now, I did finish this book. I binged it. You know what? My head is empty. Overall, there were just the characters in here. Some of them, I was like, what? A dude got charged with statutory rape, right? The girl in the book, she like confronts him for it, and basically he was explaining that the dad said that he forced her, and then the girl in the background was like, he didn't. It's about the age. Like, the reason why it's statutory is because it's the age. Like, the kid can't consent. Louise, that's the girl who then confronts him. Then she just sleeps with him immediately. Like, they just have the conversation and she's like, all right, let's have some fun. I'm glad that I have finally read it, because I don't know what it was about this book exactly, but like, I needed to read it. It was $34.99. Okay, was it worth that? I'm not too sure. I do not think so. Pretty standard. But yeah, it's definitely very literary. It's definitely has a very much more slower vibe. You're just kind of like going along trying to figure out like what's going on. For my sister Rebecca, who also knows these woods. These are all woods. Anna Karinina.
Anna Karinina is a novel written by Leo Tolstoy somewhere between 1875 and 1877 and is often considered the world's greatest novel. It's very highly rated and widely loved, so I thought I'd challenge myself to read it in the month of February, so I too can say I've read one of the pinnacles of world literature.
I'm gonna talk about Anna Karinina. I just recently finished the movie. The genre of this book is, I would say it's like a drama. Online it's saying that it's literary fiction and crime fiction. The novel deals with themes of betrayal, faith, family, marriage, Imperial Russian society, desire, and the difference between rural and urban life. This book is long. This book had 817 pages. A plot summary of this book. There's a lot of plot lines. So it starts off with this dude named Oblonsky, and he has cheated on his wife, Dolly. Now, Oblonsky is Anna's brother. There's a cheating gene in that family because guess what? She cheats on her husband, Alexei, with Vronsky. They also have a kid called Rosa. Anna gets with Vronsky and they have a kid. They have a daughter. And then, like, she becomes estranged from, like, her son. And then there's Levin. Now, Levin is supposed to be a self-portrait of Tolstoy. Basically, this dude, he has such horrendous self-esteem the entire time. He's ripping on himself and he doesn't think he's good enough for anything. And, like, to the point, there's also this woman named Kitty, right? And Kitty likes Vronsky, but then Vronsky's like, no, I don't like you. Initially, Kitty friend-zoned Levin. Because I remember that. I was like, see? Friend-zoning has always been a thing. Then she liked Vronsky, but Vronsky did not like her. There's actually a very good quote about that in it. See, there's so many good quotes. Okay. Then she was like, okay, Vronsky doesn't want me. Back to Levin. So she and Levin get together. She and Levin are terrible for each other. They're terrible. I don't like them together at all. I feel like, honestly, Levin was kind of getting my nerves. Maybe it's because I saw kind of part of myself in him with his like horrendous self-esteem. Levin's also like a farmer. Very beautiful scenes about the seasons. There was such a beautiful description of spring. This book was very entertaining. There's also long talks about politics and religion and stuff, so keep that in mind. I may have just thrown a lot of names at you and I'm sorry. I think I started reading this book on my birthday and I finished reading on the 29th of February. Now, the type of characters in this book, they are flawed and they're very complex and you're not really meant to like them, I don't think. Well, I didn't like any of them. Like, they're not really that good. The characters, they're very flawed, okay? They make a lot of mistakes. They're not like people that you're like, oh, I want to be like them. No, I like the storyline. I thought it was interesting. I do sometimes talk a lot. You know, sometimes there's a little bit in this book. But do we care? No. Look at all the tabs I made. And it does not even include all the annotations. The back teeth were beginning to go bad. Stream cavity by Vinny. Okay, that is so random. Death, the inevitable end of everything, presented itself to him for the first time with irresistible force. He's not worth your suffering over him. And she's like, what? What is it you want to make me feel? That I was in love with a man who cared nothing for me and that I'm dying of love for him? There's also a lot of discussion about cheating. Characters are so dramatic. All of them are dramatic. There's also an entire plot line of Levin's brother who was like very sick and dying. This is like kind of a spoiler, but like not really, like he's sick and dying, like you know that. But like when he's dying, he's laying on the bed and the priest is like, yeah, he's gone. And he's like, no, not quite. And the entire time he's like, I'm gonna die, And then he's like, fine. But then he's not fine, obviously. But you know, at some point he was like, dramatic. But I think the song is going to be that like Young and Beautiful song by Lana Del Rey. The reason why Oblonsky cheated on Dolly was because he was like, well, she's old and she doesn't look like she used to look. Actors are very dramatic, but I love that about them. What's the matter with you? Quiet. He's talking to his heart. So we have met Count Vronsky, and all I can picture him is as Aaron Taylor Johnson, because that's who plays him in the movie. This is how Vronsky is described. He's terribly rich, handsome, big connections, very sweet, nice. He's cultivated and very intelligent. He's a man that will go very far. So that's one part. And then on another page, it also says that he's very charming as well. Also, I love this quote about cheating. I don't understand how I could pass by a bakery as full as I am now and steal a sweet roll. Also, a man said that. Can we just clap for that man until he starts calling women vermin? That is such a wild insult going on between Kitty and Veronica. Convince me otherwise. You can't, because there is something going on between them. A romance is blossoming. Also, I've done some self-reflecting, and you know Count Vronsky? Well, I like him because I'm imagining him as Aaron Taylor Johnson. And yes, he has said some very nice things, but I think if I wasn't imagining him as Aaron Taylor Johnson, he's just not as good as I'm kind of deluding myself to believe. Like, we know from the start that he immediately likes her. There's not really any sort of tension. I mean, aside from the fact that it's an affair. Spell shop. As you can see, the book I decided on reading is The Spell Shop. I have wanted to read this book for so long for so many reasons. First of all, this cover is literally the most beautiful cover, or at least one of the most beautiful covers I've ever seen in my entire life. And also purple, the sprayed edges. Are you kidding me? Purple is like literally one of my favorite colors. If you just look around my room, you'll see all the little purple accents because, like, I have purple walls. Oh, I even have purple nails on. Fun. Okay. Anyways, I'm up to chapter 10, page 100, and I think now is the most perfect time for me to update you because I have like kind of, sorry, don't mind the pillow. I have a really good understanding now of like really what's going on, and I have a good idea of the writing style and just the magicalness of it all, and so I'm going to tell you about it because let's just say I am really thoroughly loving this book. I'm thoroughly enjoying my time reading it. This book is just, it's just so magical and beautiful, and I'm getting ahead of myself. This is a cozy fantasy which is filled with kindness and enchantment. It follows this main character called Keela via the third person who has fled the capital city, which was where she has been living since she was about, I think, like 9 years old, because there is a rebellion going on, and the library which she was a librarian at, she also lived there, was set on fire. So she and her plant, yes, magical sentient plant called Kaz, flee. Now her and the spider plant, Kaz, who is very funny, he's very charming, they have kind of been preparing to flee for a while. They have been collecting books, collecting food, and stashing it away in one of the little boats that they're going to use to flee. But they never actually thought they were going to have to, like, leave. You know, they just thought, okay, maybe, you know what, if we do have to flee, it'll be for, like, a week or so. No. They're going to have to be gone for a very long time. So they go to this remote island, which Keela grew up on, and she starts using the spells found in the books that she stole. Well, rescued, I guess. Anyways, she meets all the townspeople at this little bakery. She notices that there is a severe lacking of jam, so she makes jam with one of the spells, and then from there, like, opens this like magical spell shop. She is very much for the shy homebody girlies because she's a librarian. She doesn't interact with many people. Like, her only friend and the only soul that she's really interacted with is Kaz until she gets to this island. She literally hasn't interacted with anyone in so many years since Blue Island. And she also says that she prefers books over people. But actually, I'm really interested in seeing the progression of her character going from someone who is, you know, quite lonely actually, and sticks just only to herself, to, you know, branch out and become someone who I guess does interact with people, especially because she's going to be opening a spell shop. She's going to have to interact with people. I'm very interested in seeing that. This book is so whimsical and lovely, and yes, I do love and adore it. However, this is just a warning. There is a character in this book that specifically goes by they, them. However, they are misgendered a few times in this book, and like, I don't know how that got past the editors. I don't think it was any like malicious intent, but I still think it's like, how could that have gotten past the editors? Do people not like read the books? Like, come on now. Like, you see what I'm saying? It's just not like that's just what I'm thinking, you know? It's you. Sometimes it's like, did anyone edit this? Did anyone read? How did it get past that? Because are people not picking up on this? How do people not pick up on things? Happy Place. Now it's time to read Happy Place in front of the fire because it is freezing. Look, when I was reading this book, there was a stage where I did think this was going to be 5 stars. I've eventually settled on a 4. I did love it. There were so many parts of this book that I did love and adore. I loved their friend group, but I wish there was more flashbacks from when they were younger. Miscommunication did kind of bother me a little bit, but like, I did feel like it was also, I don't know, I feel like maybe it's kind of really, I don't know. I love this book so much. This is definitely my favorite Emily Henry book thus far that I've read. Just the exploration of friendships and connections in this book. The moving on, the nostalgia, the growing older, the beautiful quotes in this book. It's just, I love it. The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. The next book that I finished was The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins. So this is the prequel to the Hunger Games trilogy. I mainly listened to this in an audiobook version, but I did switch between them. I watched the movie of this first, and I'm just going to say this. I am so glad that I did, because I read this book and there were so many things that were changed and were different, and I just know that if I was to have read this book first and then watched the movie, I just would have been like, why did they change this? Me personally, if I can, I'm going to try to like watch movies and watch TV shows first before I read them, because I just feel like in every single time I'm just disappointed. This book basically follows Coriolanus Snow, and in the Hunger Games trilogy, he's the president. He's President Snow. This follows Coriolanus when he is younger, and he actually has to be a mentor to one of the people Her name is Lucy Gray. She's from District 12. He was definitely very unintentionally funny. Sometimes he would say things and it was just like, that's such a random thing to say, but he was kind of hilarious, but he's not supposed to be hilarious, but sometimes he was very hilarious. I really liked this book. I did imagine him in the book as how he was in the movie. All the people in the movie, I just imagined them. Part of me knows what it would be like to be in the Hunger Games. Let me explain. I have very vivid dreams. I actually had a dream that I was in the Hunger Games myself. Let me explain the dream. So essentially, I was in this like gigantic supermarket. Like this was the biggest supermarket I've ever seen in my entire life. It was like 1,000 stalls in one, and it was really dark, and there was so many people around, and you know, there was the thing that was like, okay, you're gonna start like killing each other soon. And you know, as soon as like the siren thing went off, everything was like quiet for a few minutes, and then like people started dying. It's so that I can still hear the screams. I mean, I did watch like a lot of scary movies and stuff, but it was so real and so lifelike, and it was terrifying because I was running. Like, because people were chasing me in this dream that I was having, and it just felt so real because in dreams, sometimes I can be like, this is such a dream, like obviously, but other times I'm so panicked, and I remember being in my dream thinking, this better be a dream, this better be a dream, and so I was like running, and then like someone set off a bomb. It was really scary and intense. You know how some dreams just take so long? Like that dream just took so long to get through. So yeah, I kind of, like it was scary, but yeah, I guess I kind of like know a little bit what it's like to be in the arena.
Animal Farm.
I went into this book having already read a George Orwell book before because I loved 1984. I loved that book so much. So it's not really a surprise that I have also loved this book as well. Basically, this is an allegorical novella set on Manor Farm where these animals revolt against Mr. Jones, who is the owner of said farm. The animals, they're aiming to create a society where all animals are equal and they are free from the oppression of humans. They then rename the farm Animal Farm, which that's the title of the book. They follow the 7 commandments of animalism. Yeah. So yes, when they take over the farm, they like kick out Mr. Jones, and then when Mr. Jones tries to retaliate, he brings like a little mini army of people to like attack against animals. The animals attack back, and it's like, no, this is our farm now. And the animals, like they're looking after this farm, and you know, at first like the farm is thriving. They're working much harder than before, like a lot harder than before, but they're working for themselves. So anyways, the pigs, they are the dictators in this entire society. And also, remember the 7 commandments? They keep changing them. The animals are like, hang on a second. What? And then they go and to refer back to the 7 commandments. It's like, oh wait, but it's been changed. But like, was it changed? Or like, was this how it always was? And we're just misremembering. They're all overworked. This book is really quite unsettling. Really. It really is. And the last line is so good. I really did thoroughly enjoy this book. Like, this book is a commentary on totalitarianism, communism, socialism. There's corruption of power, equality and inequality, class is explored in here, so is control. This is a really good book. I will be rating this book 4 stars. As I was reading it, some of the things I was like, barnyard, but I fear unfortunately barnyard isn't really based on this. It's kind of just animals that can talk a little bit. It was good. I'm glad I finally read it because I wanted to read this for a very long time and I just keep putting it off, and I don't really know why. It's just, I'm glad I just finally read it.
The 7 Year Slip. I cannot express to you how much I needed to read this book, and I didn't even know I needed to read it until I just finished it. This is words on paper.
Okay. Oh well, I said I wanted to cry. And this book is... Oh my...
7 Year Slip. There were some nice things I did. Tab them at the start. It was kind of boring. Getting off track here. The genre of this is romance, I believe. 328 pages. The font. Essentially, this girl is a publisher and her aunt dies and she inherits the apartment. But sometimes the apartment takes her 7 years into the past, and 7 years into the past, her aunt was letting this dude stay in it for the summer. So every so often when she goes in the apartment, it's like set 7 years in the past, and it's like she's experiencing things. And it's kind of weird because like she's experiencing things with him, and then in the future, like he's already experienced them, but she hasn't. She likes art. Type of characters in this book, millennials. What I liked about this book was I liked the fact that there was that kind of like the apartment. I liked the fact that I liked the aunt. I wish we got to know more of the aunt. I wish there was like more flashback scenes of like her and the aunt. I did cry, by the way. There were some parts that were a little bit boring. At the start, I was a little bit bored, but then I pushed through and I'm glad I did because I did end up really enjoying it. I didn't really feel like that much of the chemistry.
Emily Wilde's Encyclopaedia of Faeries.
So the writing style is very wordy. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't mind it, actually. And the reason why it's wordy is because the main character, she is an academic, she's a scholar. I am actually really invested in the fairy plotline. I think it's very interesting. If this was a real profession, I would love to do it. Guys, I think I want to travel, which is big because for the longest time I was just like, I'm gonna die soon, so there's no point in even thinking about my future. But yeah, I think I want to travel. I don't know, this book is just making me want to travel, just the atmosphere, the way things are described. I was not expecting it to be set in like a winter setting. I was expecting more like of a spring kind of cottagey, flowers in the field kind of vibe. Instead, it's like snow and freezing and cold. Freezing and cold, same thing. What I'm getting at is that the setting is still very beautiful. I kind of wish there's a little bit more of it. Emily, the main character, her main personality is just that like she is an academic. She's a scholar. She has a dog, and when she puts her hair up, it gets, you know, very messy very quickly. Like that's her personality. She's just very like obsessed with her work. All she cares about is her work. That's the vibe I'm getting from her. The way it reads is like someone who was an academic. Some could say pretentious. Some could say that. I am really liking the atmosphere of the place so far. I feel like, however, I have been reading it for so long and I'm literally only 40 pages in.
I adored Emily Wilde's Encyclopaedia of Faeries. Okay, I love this book so much. Emily Wilde, she's an academic, she's a scholar. This book is written a little bit like a textbook because it's like her journal entries as she's exploring this place and finding more things about the Fae. I love the characters in this book. I love Wendell Bambleby. I love Wendell Bambleby so much. The only thing is that the spring vibes in this book, this cover gives spring vibes. There was no spring vibes in this book. It's like this desolate winter area. And you know what, but I wish the courses that Emily Wilde was talking about in this book, I wish they were real because I would do it. I would do those courses, I just wish it was real. Heir of Fire.
Basically, this is the fourth book in the Throne of Glass series. I am really enjoying that series, but also keep in mind that I am newer into fantasy. I don't know much about fantasy. I haven't read that many fantasy books. I'm new into the world of fantasy, which is probably why I like it. And if you ask some seasoned professional, they'd probably be like, it's really not that good. But also, I'm not a seasoned professional. Basically, Crown of Midnight ended on something like a cliffhanger, and I'm assuming everything's going to pick up back here. And basically, the main character of this book, she is now in a brand new place. Is it in the map? I thought that said for Sam, and I almost, you know, it's not. It's for someone named Susan. But I never used the maps. Is in this book, everyone is in love with her. Literally everyone is in love with her. Honestly, slay. There is a lot of new characters. It keeps being like changes in perspectives. Something that I thoroughly enjoyed is because this book, it follows so many different people's like perspectives and storylines. One of my favorite ones was the witch storyline, and we have this witch called Manon. Basically, she is training with wyverns. She has a wyvern called Abraxos. I love that little storyline and like what she does for him with like the wings.
My only thought continuation of this book is that I just need to continue the series into the new year. Actually, next year, this year, because it is currently 2025, but I would like to finish this series in this year. Because yeah, I really love this book. Like, this book's one of my top ones.
Everything I Know About Love.
Everything I Know About Love is just... Sorry, don't mind me just dying over here. This book is so girlhood. This book is so girlhood. It's so friendships. The experiences are so entertaining to read about. There's so many life lessons in this book. It kind of just makes you want to just live with a group of your closest best friends and just have the time of your life. And I want to read this book so bad, and I'm also really not nervous about the fact that I am turning 20 this year. I'm turning 20 this year, and this book is just, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Okay, so let's talk.
I've heard mixed things about this book. Some people are like, it's amazing. Other people are like, it's not even talking about love. It's just talking about like parties and friends, which like on the front it says parties and friends, meaning like the author knows about it. Like other people, but I saw a lot of people being like, she didn't even talk about this part of love, she didn't even talk about that part of love. And to that I say, well then you write a book. I also really want to watch the Stan series about it.
Update, I'm watching it now and I'm really loving it.
Before I go further with my review, I just want to say I really liked it, and I think I used to be so scared about turning 20 next year because I turn 20 next year, and because of this book I'm actually really excited and I'm not scared at all anymore. We don't know what's gonna happen, you know, so much can happen in a year. While this book is a memoir, it does have a lot of novel elements and it feels like a story. I really like this kind of writing because it is her real life experience, but it's written in such an engaging way. Now I will admit at the start it was so quick. Also, you know how there are some books that when you read them you know you're gonna reread them? This is definitely one of those books I'm gonna read.
Pride and Prejudice. Let's talk about Pride and Prejudice. The back of this book says that it's just a love story between Elizabeth Bennet and Fitzwilliam Darcy, but this book is so much more than that. There is so much
betrayal, lies, deceit, sabotage that actually isn't sabotage, even just normal sabotage. There's just a lot that goes into this book, and a lot about other people as well, especially considering it's written in third person, so it's not the same. Don't know what that was. Also, I hate that I'm about to say what I'm about to say, but I feel like it must be said. Every single time I say this book, well, not every single time, only sometimes. Only sometimes, let me reiterate that, only sometimes when I see this book do I think of that abominable scene in After
Elizabeth Bennet needs to chill.
with Hardin and Tessa when they're in that English college classroom and they're fighting about Pride and Prejudice and self-inserting themselves as Elizabeth and Mr. Darcy. I'm sorry for saying that. The book that I finished was Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. I read this myself and also sometimes listen to an audiobook version of this. I personally really like this book. I like the romance, but I also think that if you are looking for kind of like a modern romance, you won't find it in here. There were many characters in this book that I wish... Have you seen the first Jumanji movie? You know, when all the animals come out of the game and they're just charging down the street. The many characters that I wish would have been laying on that street as the herd of animals stampeded across. I liked Mr. Darcy from the start. I liked that Elizabeth wasn't a doormat. She stood up for herself. Yes, it's a romance, but there is so much more. I would say there's a lot of drama in this book between a lot of characters. Beach read. The fact that it did have beautiful quotes overrides the really cringy quotes. That's I like. Ew, why would you say that? Okay, so I'm sitting on this random robe thing because I don't trust the carpet, but I thought that while I brush out my hair from salt water, I would tell you about what I have been reading today. The book that they say has different endings between the UK and US editions is Beach Read, which I looked up and spoiled for myself because I just simply couldn't continue reading it without knowing what I was missing out on. And I've had a lot of conflicting sources, so I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna keep reading it. But I was reading Beach Read. I'm up to like chapter 8. And is Beach Read her debut novel? Why do I think that everyone's book that I read is a debut novel? I don't know. But I mean, it's pretty okay. I was very confused at the start because she was, you know, next door to this guy. Okay, I forgot to say, not gonna lie, I was very confused at the start because it's like two writers, one holiday, a rom-com waiting to happen. I did not think, I don't know what I imagined, but I imagined that they went on like a holiday together to like a writer's retreat. I don't know why I was thinking it was that kind of vibe. It's literally not. She's just moved into this house that's like her dad's and his mistress's house, and he's her next door neighbor. And I was so confused because I liked the neighbor at the start, and then I was like, okay, so where's this like Gus guy coming in? Because I thought that she was gonna go on like a writer's retreat with him, but no, it turns out that... Is that a spoiler? Okay, I'm not gonna... I think it's pretty okay so far. I think I prefer You and Me on Vacation because I read like one chapter of that. I don't know, to be honest, but I've been reading this all day. I should have put Sands in it as a memento. Basically, I woke up this morning at like 7:40 and I forced myself to get up, and then I went to the beach at like, I don't know when, but it's currently like 10 o'clock and I'm like halfway through Beach Read. Honestly, I like it. I think basically, you know, because it's two authors, she like writes romance, he writes literary fiction, and basically they're trying to write each other's genres. The romance lady, the story she's thought up, I think is actually very interesting, and I would actually read that, and I hope this author does actually properly write that story because I would buy it and I would read it. Now, I will admit there are some very cringy lines in this book, but I'm just kind of ignoring that because I choose happiness and I'm not gonna let, you know, a few cringy lines derail an entire book. And then I'm only like a few chapters in, well, it's not really chapters, but you know what I'm saying, into Normal People. And yeah, I'm liking it so far. I don't really know what book I'm gonna go to. I think I'm gonna go to a different beach today. And I might read some more, but that's what I've been reading so far.
And A Court of Silver Flames.
It's not a want, it's a need. I need Nesta and Cassian's book. That is what I need. That is what's gonna bring me joy and happiness in this world. I just want that book. Because Nesta, you know what? Like, everyone just thinks she's so mean. And like, yeah, she was. But like, I'm starting to see that things are different with her. And I don't know, I just need that book. I do.
If I get the assignment done, I can read this. It's 8:37. My thing's due at midnight.
It is time to talk about A Quarters of Flames, my favourite book of the ACOTAR series. I love Nesta, I love Cassian, I love the storyline, I love how like messy the relationship is and how this denial and all the pain and the growth and the stuff that they have to go through. But I love all the characters in this book, like especially the side characters. I love the side characters. I love Nessa's character development. I love just seeing her thrive and get through this really tough time. I love the setting, I love the world, I love the conflict, I love the metaphors for Nessa's character development. I love the training scenes. It's just I love this book so much. I do. But also remember, guys, I am not like a fantasy girly. I'm not. Okay, I've read a few fantasy books in my lifetime, but I'm not. But this book, I want to reread this so bad. I want to read it so badly, but I need to read the other ones because I know like it will hit harder. But yes, Nesta, I love you. Okay. And then these are the honourable mentions: The Cruel Prince, Good Girl, Bad Blood, The Naturals, Caraval, and A Study in Drowning. Alright everyone, that is all I have for you today. I hope that you got some level of enjoyment out of this video. I just thought it was like quite interesting seeing myself throughout all the different stages of this year and kind of my thoughts and if they changed or like how much they changed and everything. I'm tired. I need to lay down, but see you soon.